t-shirts, our volunteers. And they are still here today, helping out, volunteering. So please do thank them, have a chat, and let them know how much we appreciate that they have volunteered their time and money to come here to help with this event. We also want to remind you to please pick up trash. If you see anything, please pick it up. That would really help us at the end of the conference. I also want to mention that there is the Graduate Student Showcase. Well, there are several showcases happening throughout the day. And it's not just for students, it's not just for people who have attended those universities. We encourage everyone to go, support the students, see what the future of ELT in Japan looks like. That is in 2 rooms in 1006 and 1007. So yeah, please go check that out today. Stephen, anything from you?
Yeah. When we were walking around yesterday trying to pop in and show our support for people, lots of people came up and said, "How's it going?" And we pretty much said, "We have no idea. We're living in a little bubble up front announcing things, and we don't really know how it's going." And I throw it back to you. How's it going for you? And we've had lots of really nice comments. Thank you. Wayne and Catherine and I sat down at a local establishment and had a drink and came up with the shout-out idea a couple of days ago. And it's kind of taken off in a way that lots of people, that was one thing people kept saying, is that well, we really appreciated that, I've been doing it, it's been fun to hear other people, so we wanted to actually continue that a little bit. Yesterday we tied it a little bit to the teacher efficacy. Today, we thought about the agency in terms of people who have had a big impact on us, given us power when we were younger. Catherine, how about you?
Well, I actually came up in the young learner world, and when I was fresh teaching very young learners, the women who really inspired me and made me want to be better as a teacher. Of course, Mari Nakamura, who I mentioned yesterday, but also Alida Krauss, Leslie Ito, Akiko Seno, and the wonderful Kim Horn. These are women who have had an incredible influence on my life as a teacher. Now, in terms of agency, a little bit more specifically, the idea of agency being that students know what they need to know when they need to know it. And when I transitioned from young learners into the university teaching context, for me, there were 2 people that really stood out because their doors were always open. And therefore, I could always go in and ask what I needed to know when I needed to know it. And one of those is standing right next to me, Mr. Stephen Herder. You were fabulous in my teaching journey, so big round of applause for you. But also a woman named Maria Correa. She is not an English teacher by training, but she really did give me agency in terms of navigating the academic context and working in a university as a full-time professor at a Japanese university. So I really have to give a big shout out to Maria as well.
Many years ago, as a young male teacher, I went to my first event, which it might have been a book fair. And I remember beginning to read things and look up to people. And I've often said this at other opportunities, but Tim Murphy and Mark Helgeson and Curtis Kelly were 3 guys that I thought, wow, if I could ever write something or present like them, that would be really cool. I can't do it, sorry. Okay. When I did my master's, Amanda Gillis Furutaka, very busy woman, drove.
Okay, so those are the people who have influenced our agency, our sense of agency. And what we would like to do now is to introduce our first plenary of the day. And I'm going to give the floor to Stephen to do that.
And I got it back together, so that's good. Thank you. It's my extreme honor and privilege to introduce our first plenary of today, Dr. Amazigh Sako. We got the idea originally, I guess Wayne Malcolm saw something written about you in a magazine in Japan and thought, this is a pretty cool guy. And we always have pretty cool people in our own world, but boy, would we like to hear his story. And so we actually contacted him, and Wayne and Catherine and I went up to his university, Kyoto Seika University, and he very, very graciously spent about 90 minutes with us. Our intention was to introduce JALT and what we were looking for, and yet he gave us a tour of his world, his experience, and his life in Japan. He was originally born in 1966, just a year or two after me, and I immediately felt a connection with him that we've had this long experience in Japan, but rather different experience. He was born in Mali and studied architecture in China, and then came over to Japan and did his doctorate at Kyoto University in architecture. And one of the very first things he said to us at the meeting we had at Kyoto Seika University was, what's your communique at the end of the conference? What's the outcome? And we all kind of looked at each other, and I thought immediately of the G7 and how they put out a statement based on all the policy and thoughts that come at the end of the conference. And so we've been tossing this idea around that it is a wonderful idea to know that you're working towards an outcome. And when Sako Sensei said that to us, within a minute of us talking, my interest was piqued to get to know him and to hear his story. I don't want to say anything else. I might say it later in case he's going to say it himself, but there were some fascinating insights as to how he has maneuvered through this Japanese world, or the Japanese world of education we are lucky to work in and are forced to work in, and it's a double-edged sword all the time. But I'm just thrilled to be able to introduce him and listen to his story, the time since he got here, and to the position now as the president of Kyoto Seika University and the innovations that he's continuing to put forth. So let's have a big round of applause and welcome to our special guest this morning, Sako Sensei.
Good morning.
Good morning.
And thank you, Stephen, for this introduction. Before starting, I just want to make sure that I come from West Africa, not South Africa. But I want to make sure that I love also my English friends and my British people. Thank you very much. And yeah, when Catherine and Stephen brought me to talk here about my story. So I was a little bit confused because for me, this is a gathering of English teachers, and then also, I don't know really what to share. But they say, no, just talk about your story. So that's what I'm going to do. So I'm sorry, maybe I will go through a lot of different stages of my life, but I want to share from the beginning, what I was trying to do or to be in Japan, and also as one of the pioneers of opening Japanese university to foreigners, maybe there's something to say. So I just try to put down what I really can share with the audience. So, the second last point behind, so I say, finally, life as a multi-identity, multicultural, multi-personality. I don't know I'm so confused about my identity actually. So that's very important. So to me also. And so, and also, I think as a foreign intellectual, maybe we have some role to play in Japanese institutions, so which is also very important. And then also, that's maybe something I can share with you guys today. So, who am I? You know, like I always show this picture when make a talk recently. So this is me when I was, I don't know, 8 or something. But this picture is very interesting. Actually, I have an uncle who came from the village to my house in Bamako and keeping this picture. You know, this is you, and I raise you, and then you have something to give me back. You know, that's always in Africa. You keep paying them, I don't know, for all your life. But he wanted to say, okay, so I just want to show how much you grow. So I was appointed president of Kyoto Seika University, April 2018, through election. And after that, for me, when I was running for the presidency, I really didn't realize that that can be something very special. And after that, I don't know, I found myself in New York Times, in whatever, in French magazines, and then even like some people name the 100 most influential Africans in 2018. I don't know what kind of influence I did, but you know, like maybe there's something special in that I didn't know myself. So that's why, like, I mean, if people say, okay, please share your story, I try also to convince myself to understand, to analyze also, to have a feedback on what I did until now. So, as he introduced me, so this is my profile very quickly. So, I am architect, and then I was trained in China and in Japan, and I did also some training outside of these two countries. So I started to work for Kyoto Seika University from 2001, so 18 or 19 years from now. So this is briefly what I did. And as a researcher, I'm specialized in housing and whatever is about communities. So before that point, so I belong to a few committees, and then also I'm learning through a lot of opportunities too. I think, and I want that because this is a good opportunity to introduce my country, which is in West Africa. So this is briefly Mali. So we speak French in Mali. French is our official language. And then, I don't know, what is the size, this is 3 times the size of Japan. And then we have a population growing very fast. And then we were a French colony, and we got independent in 1960. And then, so we are very diverse. So this is like the number of ethnic groups and languages you find in Mali. So from the north, we have Berber people. To the south, you have also some Mandinka people. And one great thing about Mali is the music. So in Mali, you can find like a lot of kind of music from the Mali Empire. I want to share, because this is Sunday morning, some of the song with you. A little bit. I think it's just a warming up. So this sound is coming from kora, which is an instrument they used to play in the Mali Empire in good days. So I suppose today is a great day for us, and I want to share this song. And thank you. And then this is Mali, so it's a savanna country, so without any big forest. And then we have the desert, so as you can see the temperature. So when I visited there, it was like 56 degrees Celsius in daytime. And nighttime night you can get 5 to 10. So you see like the difference is very big. But anyway, the people are surviving. So and then we have this Niger River, which is also a great river. And Mali has also some world heritages. So today, I will not talk about that, but I just want to share you some of the pictures. For example, we have Jene, which is also a historical town. And then also, this has the biggest mud bricks mosque in the world, so which is also something very amazing. We have the Dogon people. They thought their spiritual thinking are very amazing too. And then finally, we have where you people don't want to reach, Tombouctou. But it exists in Mali, so anyway. So we have Tombouctou in Mali. So please, just understand that Tombouctou exists. And then so we have Bamako. This is the capital city where I was born. And also, our education background is very interesting. So this is the French-speaking countries. So we are not using exactly the same curriculum as France, but almost similar curriculum. Like, I mean, the structure is almost the same. So that's what I am calling that the dual education system. So what is amazing in that, so daytime when we go to school, we are allowed to speak only French at school. And, you know, we think like also French, you know, as you understand. And when you go back home, you have to forget all about that French style. You have to become your ethnic group people, your local community people. And then so in one day, you know, we have to have multi-personalities. So at school you say, yeah, you know, you French, and then when you go home, you know, you have to be very cool. And then so, I mean, as kids, I didn't even know that this had an impact on us. But, you know, like after you learn, really like, you know, how to adapt yourself in different situations. So, for example, like in Mali, in our local communities, we have like the chance to speak few languages. So, but the language I speak, I speak 2 or 3 of them. But so we don't go through readings. So it's oral. And then, so that's a different type of, you know, learning, so we have. And then when we go to school, so we have whatever is readings. So like we're changing, you know, our style a day, so, which is very interesting. So, and then we go to Korean school. So some of us also learn about like Islam, about, you know, like Arabic and all those things. So we have like as I say, my personal, multi-personal identity or whatever. So this is like how we change all the day. And then if you see also the school size, which is very interesting, we have many types of school. So this is like a size of elementary school. So what we do in Mali is not, you know, to support everyone. So education is free, but you have to pass your exams every year. So if not, you repeat 2 times after they throw you out of school. So we have a lot of people like who abandon or who, you know, stop school at a very early age. And then they only support the remaining people. So, of course, we even don't know why we are competing for. So that's also something which is very important. So we are, I mean, receiving education, we really don't know the real meaning because it's a kind of like a European-oriented education. And then, so this is my high school. And after high school, I got the government scholarship to go for China. And then, so I went to China in 1985. So if you can imagine China in the 80s, so that's like the beginning of the open market and all those things. So we were like a kind of like a experimental bodies for like, I mean, opening Chinese mind. But at the same time, they were dividing our life, you know, from Chinese people. You know, like, I mean, it was so confused. So we were not allowed to go to the same restaurant. So we don't use the same hotels. And then we don't even use the same dormitory. Even we don't use the same cafeteria on campus. So that was the life. But at the same time, Chinese people, they want to be friends with us. When they visit us and then they leave, they will ask them a lot of questions. We have police in our buildings everywhere. So, I mean, but we enjoy it. Anyway, so, and this is what we went through. So we have to learn Chinese for 1 year. And after 1 year, we start school with Chinese students. So this is my architecture school in China. And it was really great, but Chinese people, what really amazed me there, they're very curious. So while I'm walking on the streets, a Chinese just person come and touch me. Oh, it's a true color. Yeah, but it was great. Anyway, and then I was, what made the difference between China and Japan? I was able to fight. I was able to get angry. I was able also to shout. That's something you can do in Japan here. You have to show that. And then also, so in China, we had a lot of interaction with Chinese people. So, architecture student, we always do the sketching, all those things on street. And then while I'm doing my sketches, so I receive also a lot of tourists. Like they just gave up their tour and then they come to me to check. This line is not true. He's not. They comment everything. And then if you say, what are you doing? And then they say, can we be friends? This is something which was really big. But we experienced other things in China. If you go through internet, you will check this. Nanking anti-African protest. So that was us, and then I was also one of the leaders of African groups there. So Chinese student, I don't know, if you can see the dates, it's just a little bit before Tiananmen. So they just say, okay, one day they want to kill all the foreigners or Africans. But that was something very big. But we learned a lot of things even through this. About Chinese mindset, and also how the education also is setting. So that's something we learned about China. And after that, I came to Japan. And of course, I started to like Japan because the architecture and all those things, I was fascinated by that. And I started to learn Japanese, and also I was teaching at Nova, maybe some of you knows very well, in a part-time base. I found a lot of difficulties in interacting with Japanese people. They were so serious. I don't know if serious, but you ask them to make some examples. They really talk about their life to you. Which you don't want to listen in the morning. Yeah, my husband, that's always happen. No, just say, today I went to the market, I did this, but they don't. They really today do you have time? They just take the books. So that shocked me because that was the problem I had in my Japanese language school, because everything I told them, they have meeting on that said, this student is not serious. Because they were asking me, what do you do Saturday? I said, oh, I'm clubbing all Saturday night. And then they took that very seriously, and then they make even a meeting. This guy, maybe he can't go to university because he's playing too much. But I say, no, I'm making examples. But so the interaction with Japanese people in that level was very interesting. And I start my school. Maybe this is something you guys experience. You all have to do the same thing. You have to share the beer of other people. Warikan they say. So you divide the money integrately. I don't drink actually. And then, Japanese people, they were drinking, and then I have to pay their money. And then, I don't know, you have to follow all the rules, You don't have to say, I don't want to do this. And then, anyway, you have to really, follow the rule of your laboratory, of your lab mates, and all those things. So I had a lot of cultural shock. I had a lot of problems, but I can't do in China. So no fights. You have to admit. But I was appointed Friendship Ambassador of Kyoto Prefecture, so that also allowed me to understand a lot of things about Kyoto and learning a lot of things. But I had a lot of integration problem with my neighborhood. So this is a very interesting example. So I was living in a house where the guy, my landlord, he was someone who was designing the kimono picture. So he had an atelier in the second floor, and I borrowed the first one. And then he asked me, oh, you always do party, but your place is small. So please come to my place and do your party. And I take it, a serious word. And I start to party in his house every weekend. So every weekend I was bringing my friends. And then he was saying, okay. But so one day, so we were 30, and then he started to say, okay, it's difficult to recognize 30 people. Oh, okay. I say maybe he has some reconnection problem. So I took a picture of each friend, put in the paper and write the name of everyone and give it to him. That's my party. And then, of course, he said, oh, that's okay. But after, when I understood a little bit Japanese, that was meaning, it's enough. And then that's the problem I had with my neighborhood. Every time I was doing party, the next morning, they arranged to meet me. You know, we love you. You know, you are always happy with your friends. I said, yeah, please, next time, please join me. And then one day, I found the police on my door. That my neighbors are complaining. So that's the problem maybe we all encounter here. So after 95, the Hanshin earthquake, so I was a student, but I tried to create a kind of like an NPO, a non-profit organization to help like my fellow foreigners and together. Because for me, like Japanese people were doing a lot of things, but not enough, but they don't also try to consult us to do things. So I tried to create an entity which can also include Japanese, which can be more inclusive for foreign and Japanese. So we did a lot of things. So we opened schools, things, and then, so it was really very interesting. So we did that for many years. And I was also doing, I'm always doing party, I'm sorry, I'm a party people. So festival once a year on Kamogawa River. So that also helped us to integrate and to know a lot of Japanese also structures. So this was the whole festival, so it's about like 10,000 people every year. So doing a lot of things, and which was also a good opportunity for us to interact with Japanese people and learn things from Japanese people. And then we had about 650 Japanese and foreign volunteers, so which was really great. So my meaning was trying very hard to integrate Japanese society, but not being assimilated. So that was the difficult point. Because for Japanese people, like the assimilation is, the cultural assimilation for them is the point you have to reach. But for me, no. I want to remain Malian. I want to remain that I can be late 10 minutes. No, not really, but you know. But like, you know, I mean, I don't want to stress myself like, okay, I want to do everything integrated like Japanese people. So that was a little bit like my confrontation all the time with Japanese people. So I tried, and then I tried to explain to them what integration means. So we have to have a kind of mutually understanding, mutually agreeable. Like, I mean, we have to understand each other. It's not like a unilateral that we foreigners, we have to adapt to Japanese style. You have to adapt everything, you know, according to Japan. So that was my meaning by the integration. But also, I was a little bit lucky because maybe according to this Edward Hall explanation, Japan is a very high context and very analog society. And then if you see the sub-Saharan African countries also, we have the same also orientation somehow. But our problem is we receive two education, the European, the Western one, and the African one. So we can be flexible to understand both. But the problem of Japanese people, they're in the extreme. So that was also the lack I had in Japan. So life as a researcher too, I was engaged in a lot of research committees and then housing. And also, Japanese people, I don't know, like this is very interesting. So they were always trying to avoid discussions or those things. And also, like, you know, you have to follow what, you know, your lab, or I don't know, whatever, Kami-sama or what is the God did to your lab. But I mean, I want sometimes, you know, like to say, okay, can we have different approaches to things? Can we define architecture in different ways? Okay, they say, no, it's difficult. I say, okay, how can you explain that the two pictures, which is Santa Fe, are like a little bit like a Mali journey? So how do you explain that? So how do you explain the impacts or the regional context or everything? So they didn't want to understand, so we tried to do some research in Africa. So we went to Mali, we tried to see if we can have another definition on architecture. So what was that? If you see in this picture, so this is a house, a normal house is Mali. They have like the courtyard. The extreme one is this one, maybe if you can see. 72 people are living in this house. in architecture, impossible. That the architecture we learn, impossible. But why it's possible? So we have to understand that. Maybe that may give us another theory of architecture. So I tried to do a lot of observation researches. So these people, they're creating spaces a long day. They create one, they put it away, they create another one, but putting tools and they're moving them. And then they're also trying to, negotiate the space through all day, and which was very interesting. So if you do the observation, you will see the activities moves, time to time, and then this gives us another theory, another way of understanding architecture, which is about space negotiation with people. So if you go through the day, you will see people, sometimes they overlap. You can have an explanation on that, but there is a kind of meaning in space occupation, which is not the space people teach us. And then some of my lab mates try to apply that in Kyoto. So in Kyoto, so we had this, if you can see, a little bit water they put they say uchimizu. So in afternoon, usually they put water. So it doesn't have a lot of big meaning, but it has a meaning. So we try to check that. That's crazy. So my lab mates, so we measure all those things and see if you put water until up to your neighbor's place, what means that? Do you have a good relation? Because in Kyoto, they don't say they have good relation anyway. And then so we try through those kind of demonstration to see what is going on. And then this is, if you go all the day, they overlap. It's like the Malian space we have. And what is interesting in that, we try to have also a talk. So that my senpai, so he did a lot of interview to check how do they define their neighbor. So they say asokowa, so there, or these people, or them, how, so what kind of word they use for a neighbor. And if you check that with this uchimizu line, it can say how much they are close and how much they are far, but they will never show you that. So it means we can study architecture in different contexts, and then I start to call or they start to call it, I don't know if it's me or them, anthropological architecture. I even don't understand, but that's how they call now my research. So, but I just try to understand space through people activities and movement. So, as a teacher, when I came to Seika, so I was teaching different subjects, but they put me in different also committees. And one of the first shock, as I told you, I came to Seika in 2001, April. And in June, they say, okay, you are in charge of the US program, whatever. And okay, that was my first time to see the student also going to US. So we went there late August, and we had the 9/11. So that was my first shock as a teacher, because the school called us and say, okay, you have to take the student back immediately. But they were supposed to stay there 6 months. The students say no, and then the school say yes. And then we are between these people, going through a lot of emotional things. But what was also interesting is the problem is people don't try really to understand, to analyze what is the situation. It's like this, and then the decision is this, so no negotiation. And then I told them why we don't negotiate with these students. They've been, looking for this occasion. They are now in the US, so we have to talk to them. So that was also the experiences I had when I started to work in Seika. And also the fact that students are more close to you sometimes, they bother them. Or why the school, the student, they feel free, are more close to foreign teachers actually. They call you by your name, Usubi, or whatever, or Sako. They even don't put sensei. So those things sometimes, frustrate our colleagues. Why? Maybe he's giving special occasion to students. And then sometimes they even check your credit system. Maybe you're giving credit to them like this. And then so I was so shocked by this, situation that we don't trust each other at the same level. We are teachers, like Japanese teachers, but they try always, to check what you're doing. I don't know why, but that was the same. So when I started to be a dean of faculty, So I was confronting to different situations. The decision-making process. Who exactly can make decision in Japan? Who? Who is responsible? Because they always keep asking who take responsibility of this decision. So it's not in the text, we can't do it. Even if it's good. So, and then, I mean, it comes to a certain level, like, okay, sometimes they refer to Mongusho, they say, okay, no, the country refused. They always want to find someone who is not within us, who is dictating something we don't see, to not make the decision. So I try to change all those things. So I, as the president, I start to create new institutions which can make decisions quickly. I will show you later. So, and then that was also one thing. Another thing is also the interpretation also. Like they, you know, they have a lot of readings of fact. That's also something like, I mean, because this is also interesting. I mean, if I'm criticizing Japanese language, sometimes I'm telling them Japanese language is not a scientific language because you have 100, you know, way of interpreting, I mean, to interpret like something which is so easy to understand. So sometimes like I try also to change that kind of things. So, and then as I say here, invisible rules. Reading in the air, whatever. They say kukyo. This is the most difficult thing because in Japan you have to, you know, like do things according, I don't know, to feeling, to whatever, like they say, I mean, you have to understand what? The air. Invisible. So that kind of like what I can say, the influence of Japanese non-verbal communication in decision making, like that's really like a big problem. I mean, for a lot of foreigners, because we want to make things clear, but like they want to put a little bit abstract. And then, as I say, so you have to, I mean, create institutions. So when I became president, so we create this institution which can make all the new decisions. Okay, maybe it's a little bit dictatorship. No, I come from West Africa anyway. So, and then I put all the centers which make new things, new challenges under, and by the way, I am also the director of this institution. Anyway, and also the head of human resources. Okay, so, and then I make also a statement on diversity. So we have to work more on this diversity because like, okay, I don't want to offend my British or English friend, but South Africa win because they are very diverse anyway. So, and I try to also make some goals on diversity. Foreign student, 40%. Foreign faculties member, 30%. Administration, 5. Women with higher position, 40. And then Japan is really interesting. So we didn't have any meetings for this. I just put that on the paper. And the next morning, they start meetings. The president decision. I said, okay, thank you. They make even structures to discuss about how to do it. But I never told them, you know, like this is not a fixed thing. Like this is my dream actually. But they start to work on my dreams. You know, they're very serious. And then now, like, I mean, everywhere, they start to do that. So what is very interesting, Japanese people, they want change, but they're afraid about change. But if you give them opportunity to change, they really like do it. So that's like the good thing I learned from Japan. And then, as I say, a Malian Japanese. So I have to check the time actually. Okay, I have 6 more minutes maybe? Maybe, okay. Actually, like I got the Japanese citizenship from 2002, which also made my life a little bit difficult after Japan. So when I traveled with my Japanese passport, which doesn't have any sign of Mali, because in Japan they put your legal address, not where you're born. So it's only Kyoto. And especially when I go to France, they always stop me, say, they check the passport first, and then they start to be confused. Why are you Japanese? Your name is not Japanized well, because I have Usubisako on my passport. And sometimes they say, okay, maybe maybe if you do some sports, you can be Japanese. So they start to think about what sport I can do. They end up with small. I say, no, I'm not big enough for that. So it's very interesting because this globalization, is going through a lot of examples. And then what also is interesting, amazed me too. For example, when I go to some countries, I go through this automatic gate. That happened to me in Holland. I went through the automatic gate, and then I got alarm. And then they said they have to check the authenticity of my passport. And then I was there with that passport, international zone, being nobody for a few hours. And then when they came back, the passport was okay, but my flight, was not there. So that's, things what happened now. And for me, it's very interesting. And then I'm trying, as I say, not to be assimilated, to keep my Malian side and being Japanese also. So it's difficult for a lot of Japanese people or for even my Malian people also to understand that. But that's what I'm trying to do, to be this kind of the symbol of the globalization too. So what we foreigners, we can do in Japanese educational institutions. So we have a big problem in Japan, that's the perception problem. So Japan, maybe it can change. So that's what I wrote here, from package to individual consideration. They consider always us as a package. The Korean student, the Chinese student. And what is very interesting, Korean student or Chinese student, now they are more diverse individually. So I was talking with a Chinese student, and then we were talking in Chinese about her hometown. So she said, oh, okay, yeah, but it has been a long time, I don't really know my hometown. I said, oh, why? Oh, yeah, I was born in Hungary, and then I lived in Italy, and I'm in Japan now. So you see, people are really now, they have a lot of view about things, but only Japan try to frame us. And then that's also something we need really to change, to have this, to reach that diversity. So that's the role we should play as foreigners also. So I think how to do that, so how to overcome the cultural gap at every steps. So they don't miss any steps. At every steps you have a cultural gap. Even your way of drinking, they will say, no, you have to drink like this or that. So so you have to follow, the way of thinking, that's also very good, but now with a lot of foreigners, it's different. So this kind of confrontation, so how we change that? So framing also of foreigners, so this is also in both sides, because we also as foreigners, sometimes we like to be framing. So, I do something and if I don't understand, I say, yeah, because I'm foreigner. So we have to overcome that too. It's true. We have to also make this effort toward Japanese. And then also that limitation also in communication, we have to overcome. We have to try to understand why they communicate like that. What is behind that? So that's also some of my goals also I want to reach. Because for me, I found that, these cultural differences can be learned. If you're together as a human being, you can, learn about, how to create a kind of new understanding, even a kind of new frame of cultural, understanding. So that's some of the goals. So I will go very quickly, maybe in 2 minutes, about Seika. So this is my...
Okay.
It's okay? Okay. This is my university, so which is based on the liberal arts, global and creation. So it's very easygoing. And then this is our philosophy, freedom and autonomy. So, but this freedom is also not well understanding, but anyway, we're trying to do things. And I told them, we are not educating, students for only having job. We have to give them place, to build themselves, to try to reach a certain goal of what they want to do. So also that's something also we are working on. And also this concept, so you don't have to hide, your identity or whatever you have. So why we don't learn from each other, and then that can also help us to grow together. So that's something I'm also trying to see, this inclusion and integration. And I built up rules. So there are a lot of, but just few of them. So I open all kind of exams to foreign students. That's something very special because until now we have exams for only foreigners. And then, so we only compare foreigners. So what I did, I opened all the exams. We have like 8 types of exam in a year to foreigners. And sometimes, in some exams, even in Japanese language, and Japanese dissertation, you find the foreigners on the top. And then, so it was, for me, very easy to reach the 30% I want without going through a lot of complicated things. Because they would say, oh no, you are taking foreigners who are bad, who are this, whatever. But like if you, I mean, these people are really best, are really like on top of a lot of things. So that's something also which helped me. So there is another thing, clarify that female and foreign researchers, if they become at the end the same point as Japanese, I'm sorry for Japanese, but Japanese researchers, we consider taking foreigners or female. We give advantage to female. Yes, now this is giving my people a lot of problem. Especially Japanese interview, maybe you know. You come to job interview, they interview without telling you how much you gain, how much is your salary. And then they are now shocked because we are now going through a lot of interviews that foreign researchers ask them, can you tell me the conditions? They say, oh, that's not too Japanese. You know, you are changing the rules. Now we are having people who don't read the air. So that's a problem. But I think it's very important to give them this occasion to change too, because they need this diversity. And then I think like that's something I really can do as president of university. And also, I just make sure that they put exactly what we are eating. Because we have like faculty of manga, all those things, so they can draw. Because that happened to me. Maybe like, if you live in Japan, you might have that problem that they have different names for the same thing. So I don't eat pork. I know that pork was buta. You are swinging this, okay, anyway. But there is another name. So always my colleagues were taking me to tonkatsu, which is also pork. But I didn't know that that was pork. I was enjoying that anyway. And at night, they say, okay, let's go to ramen. And then that ramen soup is also pork, which has different name. They have a meat on that, which is chashu. It's a different name too. How can I know? So I was like eating these things for like 6 months. And after that, one day they were like, ordering like some obento. They told me, okay, what do you want? I say, I don't want pork. They said, I said, yes. I'm Muslim, I don't eat pork. They said, hey, you never ate pork. I said, never. If you ate, what happened to you? I said, no, not what happened, but that's the rule. I don't eat pork. You see, so that's what happened to a lot of people here. So I try to make like the pictographs, like the pictures, to explain to people that we have vegetarians, we have vegan, we have a lot of type of people. So that's also to reach the diversity, you need also this kind of like communication skill and communication style. And then also, we try to have also the all gender restrooms also. So, and then to continue also to change the mind. And then also I create this space for foreign students to tell them you are not guests, you are not like tourists. You are part of this university, and then you have to also think about what you can do. Then they start to make food. I don't know why. But okay, but anyway, like, they are creating a lot of occasions to interact with Japanese people. And even like they go through some subjects which are really taboo for Japanese people, but they discuss about that. And then one thing which is interesting is like they were even on NHK, these people, to talk about these kind of things. So finally, I am coming to the conclusion. So what I felt as the cultural gap in Japan, as I say, like in living in Japan as an African, that was very interesting. So when I came to Japan, Chinese people, they were touching me easy. But when I came to Japan, they were not touching me, but they were asking me. So when I told them I come from Mali, West Africa, Oh, we are very happy to meet you. Oh, why? We love animals. Oh, what kind of animals are doing this? It doesn't make any sense to me. But it makes a lot of sense to them. To meet some people who are living with animals, maybe. Or like, I don't know, who are part of them. So, I mean, I was always in these kind of things, like, you know. Or like the second question, what is your blood type? They always like, I mean, this is very, I mean, they always try to, you know, like make a position to define you, age, blood type, or then UMA, or whatever. Like, so that was like my first shock when I came to Japan. For the Muslim thing, I explained to you, okay. And also, when you set up organization, it's really difficult in Japan because the rules are not clear. It's according to the face. Sometimes, you know, you miss something. 1 week later, you come, they say, no, there is this one and that one. You know, like they always like come out with new rules. Why don't you give me integrated, you know, like all the rules, then I can understand what to do. And also maybe that happened to a lot of foreigners here. If you have a position. So one day, a Japanese mother came to my school and said they are looking for the dean. I was dean of faculty that time. And then when I came out, she said, no, I'm looking for the Japanese dean. I said, yeah, but I mean, you know, in schools you have only one dean. I don't know what to create. So we have always that, like, I mean, you go somewhere to represent Japan, or like I travel a lot with my staff. They jump me, they want to, you know, greet my staff first. But it's okay. But I mean, this is not only the problem of Japan, it's a problem also of outside, which understand Japan also as a kind of homogeneous, society. But Japan is changing a lot. Japan is also trying to integrate, but even outside, they don't really like accept that yet. That Japan is also a country which is willing to change. So what is also very interesting too, and then also I think we are going through. So as a conclusion, expected role of foreign intellectuals in Japan as cultural facilitator or maybe economical bridge. So that's like what we can do. We can be cultural facilitators. We can, you know, like, I mean, try to tell them, you know, how the negotiations can be. So how we can have also new ways of like approaching things. So this is like, I mean, the role I'm trying to play in Japanese institution. And I think my talk today, I don't know if it was rich or like what we're expecting, but I mean, this is also something we should think about it, even as language teacher, because this is also something which is integrated in the culture also. So thank you very much for your time, and I hope in the discussion later we can have some questions. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, President Sako, one more time. This certainly was not the usual linguist or applied linguist getting up and talking about language teaching in Japan, but if we're talking about building community, you build physical communities, and we build communities in the classroom, we build communities of teachers, which is going to be, I think, the theme next year, communities. So I think this really ties into what JALT is trying to do. And I think a lot of us really related with a lot of what you said. And I just want to say, as a foreign teacher working in a Japanese institution, thank you for what you're doing at Seika. It sounds like a wonderful place to be. Sako-sensei will have a moderated discussion, open discussion from 12:55 to 1:55 in room 1102. So please come with your questions at that time. I also want to mention David Barker's extra session is this afternoon from 5:10